Hi, I'm awake. My name is Leslie. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm trying to be really excited. I'm on triple duty today. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who worked on a hard job. Whether you're a tech person or not, doing these Zoom meetings. I'm a tech girl. I'm an executive assistant. That's what I do, high level execs, and trying to get these conferences together. I have work flashbacks. My nerves are shot. I'm really bald in the front, and my nerves being shot out with the Zoom, but I did good. I'd like to thank Philo. Philo, thank you so much for staying in contact with me, your diligent work. I love you more than bacon. I'll call you soon, baby. We can really have fun because I'm a complete nut. Okay, Amat, I guess. Jackie, she's so pretty. You're pretty, Jackie. I was all up in your grill, baby, all up in here. Scott, see how you doing, Scott? How you doing? Call me. You got bald head. I love bald headed. Anyway, so yeah, and it's shiny. So I know you guys have probably been sitting here for hours. I just left Woodstock West, which is out there in LA, and I was the tech head girl on that, doing that, and then I had to leave and speak on step 6 and 7, go back to it, and I directly left them and came to you guys. So for people that say they don't feel like going to meetings or they don't have time to go to, I'm sorry, but something wrong with you. Because if I could sit here and do this, anybody could do anything if you're willing. You know what I'm saying? And that's only the little bit of amends I can make to the universe. Because I have a whole lot of amends that I can't get to people and I can't get to things to make amends to. So God makes it possible for me to make amends in other ways. And that's one of the ways. Totally of service, 99.9% of the time. Remember early on, oh, did I introduce myself? I did. Oh, okay. I remember early on that they said, this is the order of things, Leslie. It's God first, then your recovery, then you, and then everything else. And I've kind of stuck to that. Because that's my way of knowing, gauging if I'm off balance, if I'm off centered or not. Because if I switch the order of things around and it's not in divine order, oh, it's finna be a catastrophe. It's getting ready to be a tsunami up in this piece. Okay, the dogs run, the cat goes under the couch. Everybody's like, "Mama is mad and crazy." So and my energy is such that I have to stay enthused. I have to stay enthusiastic about this program. I have to. And thank God I was built for that. I get excited just to see people. I'm quarantined by myself, so I stay on Zoom. I don't sleep. I think I'm a vampire. I'm a party favor, an alcoholic by nature, and without people around me, I'm awake. I can't sleep. My eyeballs have sticks in them. I don't know what's going on here, but it's okay. I'm supposed to share in a general way what it used to be like, what I'm like, what happened, and what I'm like today. And basically, I live in Atlanta, 15 years, and I'm originally an LA baby. My mother used to work in the studios back in the day, at MGM Studios, Deluxe in the laboratories, Deluxe Labs, Sony, all of that kind of stuff. So I call myself a Hollywood baby. I was raised like 10 minutes from the Beverly Center. I went to Notre Dame Academy in West LA, all girls Catholic school. Yes, I'm a recovering Catholic, bless you, and I still don't like nuns today. So just pray for me. Okay, I'm recovering Catholic with the drunk Irish priest who used to get drunk, and the altar boys would come back and tell how Father so and so had extra wine in the thing, and the chalice, and all that kind of stuff. I did my first Holy Communion. I did all the traditional pomp and circumstance that they have you do in Catholic school. So when I graduated from elementary school, which is first through the 8th grade, for those of you who don't know, then you go on to high school, and I went to Notre Dame Academy over on Overland. For those of you who know that area, you guys are in West LA, so. For Philo to ask me to come to the log cabin, to this group, it's like phenomenal because I used to go to the log cabin. I've spoken at the log cabin. My sobriety date is November 2nd, 1988. It was those other party favors that ran my ass up in here. It just wasn't alcohol. It was that extra stuff. One lady said early on, she said, one's wet and one's dry and they both kill you. Well, I was doing both wet goods and dry goods. So I was really qualified to be up in here when I came up in 1988. I've not found it necessary to take a drink, hit, fix, or pill. But you men, I saw the SLAA on there. I might need to check. No, but anyway. But yeah, that's another addiction. Okay, so you guys are probably sitting there going, who is this? So I went to Catholic school. had a pretty good, didn't do touch anything, too much of anything. And then at 16, I had this bright idea. I wanted to go to public school. And my mother was like, fine, you can go to public school. So I started going to Fairfax High School off of Melrose. And that's where I got introduced to the party favors and the drinking. Now, let me explain to you what Leslie is like. Leslie is a garbage can. You can take a drink. See, I came up during the era. I'm 59 years old. I was born in 1960. So I came up in the era with the Akadama, you know, those fine wines, the Tyrolia, the Boone's Farm, the Annie Green Springs, and then we had the clubs and anything that made me get a little buzz on. I just was trying to get a buzz, you guys, but I overbuzzed because I ended up in here with you. So something went south somewhere. So I was just trying to get a little buzz on, and we get our little drinks, and we get all of our dry goods, and we get that old school smokable alcoholic. I like to smoke mine too. That smokable alcoholic that pops and puts holes in your clothes back in, especially when you wore that polyester. Yeah, Scott, you know you old as me, so just go nod your head. I know I see you. So, you know, I like those old things that we used to do, you know, back in the day. And all my friends, what was the thing was, for me, I was always too small. I was always just light enough to be black, but not light enough to be Creole or white. My hair would grow only so long. I felt so less than. I was skinny. I didn't have any kind of boobs. I had no behind, no nothing, which is not typical of Black women per se. My mother was super, super dark, but my mother was involved with the Panthers. She was with the Panthers, and she was listening to music like Gil Scott-Heron and Sly and the Family Stone, and that's what I heard in the evenings. But then when I'd leave and go to school, I'd hear Elton John, I'd hear Bread and Air Supply, and I was like, I'd go from Becky to Bumquisha in 10 seconds. It was really, really cool. I could switch hats on you in a minute. I'd go from cute white people to, oh my God, you know, I would do that. Like, it was just natural for me, you know, and it was really, really weird. So there was that thing that we all come in here talking about, how we felt less than, how we didn't feel like we fit in, how everything never felt just quite right. I never felt quite right, but I needed that alcohol because it always made me feel bigger, made me feel taller. My hair was longer. I got big boobs. And I just felt so much better about myself. See, I didn't know about all these things until I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, because what the big book does is it puts the expressions and words to what I felt. So when I read the big book, I was like, oh, that's what pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization was. Yep, that's me right there, laying down first, getting up last. Yep, I had to ask him what his name was the next day, you know, all that kind of stuff. So this book is wonderful to describe the things that I cannot describe. So as I was going to school, I started experimenting. I'm a garbage can. I'll tell you, if you give me something, I don't ask you what it's going to do to me. I just take it. I'm a pillhead, I'm an alcoholic, and I like those other party favors. And when I like them hard. I go on runs for 3 to 5 days. I go on runs and still go to work. That's even worse. I worked at the phone company when I graduated. And if you ever got your phone turned off by mistake in the 80s, it was probably me. I'm making amends now. Okay, get over it. That was probably me, because I was probably loaded from the night before, mistyped some numbers, and disconnected your phone. I worked at Pacific Bell for over 10 years. So I always managed to have the job. I had my own apartment. I was 28 years old with braces on and the nails and the hair. I had the outsides looking cool, but I was 86 pounds, and I knew something in the back of my head. I knew that what I was doing was not necessarily good for my health. I knew that something wasn't right when I did it when I didn't want to, or when I said I'm done and I threw everything away and I got rid of those people. I was back at it again. And it was like autopilot. I couldn't explain why I'm back where I'm at again. Why am I back with those people again? See, I started out going to clubs. I liked all the clubs. I liked Disco 9000. I liked all the Tiberios. Wilshire. I liked all of those things. That was my deal. That was where I rolled at. I could put on the shortest, tightest thing and sit there with no money in my hand, and one of you men were going to buy me a drink, and it would set it off. See, I was the girl that never got a DUI, but that was by God's grace, because I should have went to jail. See, I was the girl that would pull up in my own driveway on that Saturday night with the same sparkly dress that I left in on Friday. I'm coming home Saturday night, and the dress is on backwards. My stockings, when we wore stockings at the time, were in my purse, probably with my wig as well. And I'm creeping in Sunday morning when you guys are trying, well, those guys are trying to go to church and take care of their family and do what family people do. So I recognized that something was wrong. I didn't know what, but I knew I didn't like how I felt. I hated waking up and looking through the mini blinds and seeing the sun shining in and hearing them damn birds. Me and them birds had issues. It was something about waking up at old crack of dawn in the morning and looking at yourself and going, damn, one more paycheck. Damn, you did it again. Damn, what's wrong with you? See, I was that girl that used to call this 1-800 number they used to have back in the day, because if you can't spell nothing else, you can spell that other C word. You can spell that. And I would call that 1-800 number, doing what I do, asking them questions like, what do you guys do while I'm getting loaded? See, my get down was to get loaded and then take towels and roll them real tight and put them under the edge of the door and stick something in because paranoia and DTs kicked in. DTs is when you just doing so much and you break out into that sweat. And then you got to get a cool breeze. And then you ain't drinking no water. Then you're not eating. I was 86 pounds when I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was 28 years old and I was done. I was so tired. And I thought I wasn't letting anybody know. I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but when I was getting loaded, I didn't think anybody knew. But then when you get sober, everybody like, we know, we saw it. I weighed this much. My pockets were touching. I was a mess, but I looked like I was good on the outside. So I thought. So when I started calling the numbers and I was doing these things and I was hustling this person and getting it from this person and having little parties at my house, and I had to be the host and all my little white girlfriends, we had the Humboldt County locked down in my house. And you always got to have alcohol. It's amazing to me when I talk to people I sponsor today and I ask them, are they alcoholics? And they'll tell me, no, I only do this or I do that. I said, okay, well, why don't you drink it? See, because me, I didn't know until I came into the rooms that I drink essentially for the effects produced by it. Ain't nothing better than kick your shoes off on a Friday night and get you a glass of whatever you like and sit back and have you a drink. But it never stopped with that. It always went into other things. It was blended. Everything from a tab of acid to alcohol to pills to over-the-counter medication. It didn't matter. Whatever affected me and made me feel better than what I felt, that's what I did. So what happened eventually is all that stuff caught up with me. And what happened is all of a sudden, I'm starting to have physical reactions. Like I'm shaking uncontrollably and don't know why I'm shaking. I'm scared that I'm going to have a heart attack because my heart's racing and skipping beats. I go and start drinking that old English 800 in the can with a straw, classy. I got to be classy. Got to have a straw. You know what I'm saying? I start hanging out with people I would never hang out with. I start seeing police chasing people down my street that just left my house drunk. So one day my heart wouldn't stop racing. And I called my mother up, and my mother was my road dog. She was about a block and a half away from me off of San Vicente. I said, Mom, something's wrong. My heart won't stop beating. And she came and picked me up, and she took me down to Brockman Memorial in Culver City. And they did the test. And I just wanted to just get some peace, man. I didn't know. I had no clue. My first time ever, I had no clue. The doctor came down with a clipboard and a white coat, and he said, hi. Leslie, I said, yes. He said, we've done all the blood work. Are you tired? That's all he said. Are you tired? And I looked at him because you're real humble when you're sweetly reasonable when you're laying your ass up in that hospital bed with the back out your gown and your mama's standing there. And I told him, yes, I'm tired. So he told me his diagnosis. It sounded like you have a problem. So he gave me a little directory. He said, start going to some meetings. See, I'm the girl that didn't have the luxury of going into treatment. I went to an outpatient program 30 days after I had been going to meetings already. That's how God brought me into the rooms. And when I started going to the meetings, my mother was my road dog. She was an alcoholic. She was just an excitable Black woman with a big ass Angela Davis afro in the 80s. That wanted to hang out with her daughter. So we started going to meetings. Now, let me tell you something about territory. I started going to meetings on the west side, right? And when I started going to meetings on the West Side, it was all cool until I went to one meeting and I heard this girl say in Beverly Hills, "Oh my God, my parents are going to kill me. They're going to be so mad at me because I wrecked my dad's Ferrari." I had a Datsun 210 in the damn driveway at the meeting. It hadn't had registration in 5 years. I had a window broken out in the back, and all the clothes that I've been switching out through the week is in the back seat. And I'm saying to myself, well, go get a job. I couldn't understand that. I took everybody's inventory. When I came to my first few meetings, I took everybody's inventory. She crazy. He's nuts. Something's wrong with her and him. Why are they together? I mean, my whole head, if you knew and you taking our inventory, it's okay. I did it. It's just something we do. You know what I'm saying? So I started going to these meetings and I said, okay, well, if they're going to meetings over there, and I went to Cedars and I went to Broadman and I went to meetings out in by the beach. I was homeless in Venice Beach at some point. So I started going to meetings out that way, and we're circling all these meetings. I said, Mom, where are all the Black people? Now, mind you, I'm in the middle. I ain't quite this Black, but I ain't quite white at all. So where I felt like I didn't fit in, where am I going? Where do I go? So I said, I know if the Black people getting sober, I'm gonna find them. This is my story. So we go in and we say, okay, we're gonna go to the hood. We started circling them hood meetings. Baby, when Leslie walked up in the hood meetings, it was gunshot wounds, bullet holes, scrapings, teeth missing, thrown out in the car on the freeway, left their kids in the spot over there, drunk, DUIs, and that was the women. I was terrified. I said, what the hell? I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who I was around. Oh my God, what is all of this? My mother came and rolled with me and we kept going. And then I was doing both sides. I was and then I was doing the hood. And I was doing West LA, and then I was doing South, bouncing back and forth through Prince Charles, Lano, Cedar Sinai, Midway Hospital. I was doing both constantly. Because what I did here when I started going to the meetings, they said do 90 meetings in 90 days. In LA, you can do 90 meetings in 90 days in a heartbeat, especially if you're on disability or you ain't working like I wasn't at that time. So when I wasn't working, I went to a morning meeting, I went to a noon meeting, I went to a 5:30 meeting, and then I liked the 8 o'clock meeting. And everybody that came in the 80s, see, the 80s, we was rushed up in there with those other party favors. It was a whole bunch of us that ran up in there about the end of the 80s. So we all came in there and we hung out together and we stuck together real tight. And we went together in groups to different meetings and we had a blast. And because I love people so much, you guys invited me to go out for coffee. And you guys asked me about me. And I was so shocked and surprised that you asked me about me. When I first started going to meetings, on the wall, what was real cool for me, on the wall, there was the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. I had no clue what I was reading, but what I did like is they said God in there. I said, I could do that. See, I told you I was a covering Catholic, but I had no clue about agnosticism until I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, that I have a disconnect with God. I didn't know nothing about that. I went to Catholic school. I got baptized. I thought I was connected with old dude. Dude wasn't having it. And I wasn't either because I wasn't cooperating. So when I came into the rooms, they said, you got to get into this work or die. You got to work a program or die. You better get a sponsor or die. Get into the big book or die. Work them steps or die. I wanted to live. So I said, whatever you guys wanted me to do. I came in once, November 2nd, 1988, and I have not found it necessary to take another newcomer chip since. However, I relapsed on a whole lot of 6s and 7s around this joint. Trust and believe. So I started going to those meetings and I started getting into the book, and it took me 18 months to do my first 4th step. And I sat and I had 367 resentments. Let me tell you why. Because I was so damn scared if I missed something, I was going to drink. I thought that if you miss something on that inventory, you're going to drink. And I didn't want to do it anyway. But I said, I'm okay. They want an inventory from me. I'm going to do an inventory. So I did one so thorough. When I got to read that 4th step to my sponsor, 8 hours. She laughed through half of it. She's like, okay, something wrong with you. And that's not a resentment. You just skip that. Or you said that already. That's the good thing about having a sponsor, because you do all this stuff and you're terrified that they're going to laugh at you in a negative way, but they laugh with you. And I like laughter anyway. So her laughing with me and she tell me a story, girl, that ain't nothing. Let me tell you what I did. It's something comforting about one alcoholic talking to another and they're sharing their stuff. I came from a household, whatever goes on in this house, you don't tell nobody. I don't care if my mother was beating us with belts and ironing cords. You don't tell anybody. When we went to therapy as kids, my mother would say, don't talk to the therapist. And if the therapist said anything, we get our asses whipped when we got home, my brother and I. That's how I come from that culture. So to come from that culture to come to AA, and I can sit and talk to you, Annalise, and tell you what I did, and you go, girl, let me tell you what I did. And we sit up and start sharing stories. And then I look at Angie, I'm like, Angie, did you do that? You're like, girl, I did worse. I went to federal penitentiary. You guys are looking like soccer moms and Mrs. Field cookie makers. I'm like, where these ladies come from? Y'all don't look like what your story is. I'm so glad, because it would not be a vision for none of us if we did. So going through these meetings and going through the work, and then I met him. Let me tell you about him, y'all. When I came into the rooms, they said, don't get into a relationship in the first year. I said, that's dead as hell, because Bill W. had a wife, Dr. Bob had a wife. I'm getting me a man. So, don't tell nobody. So I went on and did it. He had all of 60 days. I had 30, and he was coming off a relapse. We were going to trudge this road of happy destiny together. We were going to skip through the garden of the lilies of the field. I don't know what we were going to do. Honey, I'm good at this. My first son I had before I got married. See, that's how I do it. Now, this is without a drink. This is the kind of shit I do. I ain't had not one drink, and I get pregnant first, then I get the husband. Did it twice. Got married twice in recovery. Got pregnant first, then got the husband. But check this one out. This husband went into the army after he had some time. He went into the army, but before he went to the army, I was pregnant for 8 months. And he was so sick within himself, and I was so sick within myself. Guess what? This is like a year or after I did my inventory. Guess what? Because I put out the invites for the wedding and everything, the day he spit in my face, I had 8 months pregnancy. I had the baby, and he spit in my face. And you know, I didn't call off that wedding. I don't know if you have that kind of ego and pride where you go on ahead even though your spirit tells you don't do it. Or maybe it's just me, but I sure did go on ahead and marry him anyway, because I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't want anybody. I was too embarrassed and ashamed that if I called it off, what you guys were going to say about me. Now that I've lived long enough, you guys got better, worse stories than I do. And that's the cool thing about this program. I'm never left alone. I never feel alone. So he goes over to Germany, and I go over there with him with the new baby. And after he kicks my ass and drags me around the floor by my weave, about 2 years later, I came back. I was over in Germany during Desert Storm. I came back. I left him with a fork and a Cheerio on the floor. I had them pack my stuff up, send me back to Los Angeles. Now I'm homeless, 4 years with a new baby, and I'm pissed off at God. Because I thought once I did this work, that I was going to be happy, joyous, and free. That everything was going to be fine. I was a good wife. I was staying home being Susie Homemaker in Germany. I lived over there during Desert Storm. I was taking care of the kids. I was taking care of the kid. I was taking care of him. I was a dutiful wife. I did everything that you guys told me to do in the program. I kept my spiritual maintenance up over there. I thought it was supposed to look like a certain thing. See, at that time, I didn't know nothing about steps 6 and 7. I didn't know about my defects of character and my shortcomings. I didn't even know nothing about 10 and 11. I just knew about 12. So I'm willing to help people, but I didn't know anything about those other things, those other maintenance steps. See, I come to find out today that everything in me is generated by fear. Fear is like you ever been constipated? Is that a little too intimate? Anyway, fear is like that block between me and God. When you're sitting there and don't nothing happen, you just, the pains is, okay, that's a little descriptive. But there's a block between me and God. And then there's a block between me and my people, me and my fellows. So my sponsor used to call it, you need a spiritual enema because you are backed up. I'm like, what I did an inventory. She said, that's an onion peel, baby. We're going to be doing this. I said, well, how long I got to keep writing? She said, you got to do it until 3 days after you dead. I said, why 3 days after I'm dead? So we can make sure your ass still ain't lying. I said, I hate her. I hate her. She said, you got to keep doing this thing over and over again. I've done so many inventories, but I'm glad for every single one that I've done. Whether it was a 4-step all over again, because I done gathered moss along the way, and I ain't been doing no 10 and 11, and now all of a sudden I done picked up more resentments with my friend Donna, and I done picked up more resentments with this secretary over here. I had my hand raised, she didn't call on me, and I picked up more resentments with this girl that took my boyfriend, and I picked up more resentments with this girl, I took her boyfriend, but why she mad at me? You know, I just picked up stuff along the way. See, this is the thing about life. In the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Life in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is life. They said that I am maladjusted to life. I can't handle life on life's terms. Are you nuts? What happened to life on my terms? But look what life on my terms said. They told me life on your terms got you sitting here at 11:35 in Atlanta, delirious, after being on 972 meetings. I almost had the wig on sideways, y'all. I had to go and look in the mirror because it was real bad. I was tired. Anyway, for real, all the ladies are laughing. Thank you, ladies. The men are just like, whatever. Yeah, I see you, Jeff. Jeff's laughing. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Thomas. I got to get some validation here. I'm still selfish and self-centered. Forget about it. So, so what I did was I went on ahead and I said, okay, I got to do another inventory because I'm pissed off at God. I would stand in a meeting so mad. Look, I'd go to a meeting, but I'd stand in a meeting so pissed at God because stuff didn't come out right. And I was so, what am I doing wrong that it's not coming out right? And I would stand there and I would hold your hands when you guys would go out the moment of silent meditation and the prayer. And I wouldn't say, Jack, I'm not saying shit. I'm pissed at God right now. I just stand there, keep coming back and walk off. How you gonna have an attitude with the Most High? I had an attitude with him. We had some talking to do because he didn't paint a picture like I thought it was supposed to be. So I get back on my feet. For the first time, I'm on welfare. Never was on welfare. I mean, I hit more bottom sober than when I was getting loaded. When I was getting loaded, I had a job, I had the car, I had the house. Now I'm sober. I'm on the way to a divorce. I've got this kid. I'm on food stamps. I'm paying my mother some money, and I have no car, and I'm on the bus with this little kid, and I'm going to meetings. Let me tell you something. My kids were both raised in Alcoholics Anonymous. The lady was, and Al-Anon was talking. Let me tell you about what Alcoholics Anonymous has done for my children. My children call me their spiritual advisor now. My children have been raised in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. They've even sat in on meetings with me and given me cakes and chips and so forth. See, something happens in these rooms because you develop a family. Your family may not like you, may not want you, may not respect you. Your kids may treat you like shit. It may be the job ain't right, but coming to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Davy, I may not like you, but let me see you suffering. Let me see something happening with you. I'm going to see it on your face and I'm saying, you all right? Because I know one thing that you guys don't want to do. You don't want to see me die and you don't want to see me loaded, even if you don't like me. And that's exactly how we do this thing. See, what I had to learn how to do is I had to look at and go deeper into this God thing. Because I'm usually in fear. The big book talks about fear as a corroding thread. Anybody have a thread and you ever pull that thread and the whole sweater come apart? Any knitters or crocheters, you know you pull that one thread and the whole thing, the sleeve gonna fall off, then you got another kind of outfit altogether. Well, that's what fear does. It's a corroding thread and it runs all through my life. It runs all, it is... The 7th step, the 6th and 7th step basically talk about my defects and shortcomings. My defects and my shortcomings are those little gnats, those little termites that eat away at my spirit and eat away at my soul. This book says that I have a soul sickness. That's deeper than skin deep, baby. When there's something wrong with your soul. And then what's even colder than that is they told me there's 5 different types of alcoholics in the doctor's opinion. And then they said something about a psychopath. First thing I think of when they said a psychopath, I said, well, that reminds me of Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy or something like that. So I asked my sponsor, I said, so what is the definition? I mean, I read it, but what's the definition of a psychopath? She said, a man takes a woman out on a date. He meets her online. They get to know each other. They start talking for a good, reasonable amount of time. He asks her out on a date. She gets stressed up. She tells her friends. She says, Angie, I'm going out on this date. You know what I'm saying? Amy, I'm going out on this date with this guy. And you're like, oh, you're my best friend, Amy. And you're like, oh, good. You're going out with this guy. Cool. And the guy comes and picks me up. He has flowers and candy. He says all the right stuff. And then he puts me in the car and closes the door and makes sure I'm okay. And I put on my seatbelt. And we drive off. So fast forward, as the police are arresting him, they asked him, why did you even bother with her? Why did you do that? Why did you chop her body up and drive down I-75 corridor? And why did you do that? And his reason is she shouldn't have went out with me. Now that's an extreme example of a psychopath, but isn't that a little psychotic when I do something like that, where they shouldn't have done that to me? They should have left me alone. Or they shouldn't have looked at me that said these things about me, because I'm selfish and self-centered. Everything is about me. Even when I think I'm doing well, or I think I'm doing it for humanitarian reasons, I got a motive. I got a motive. And the cold part about it is I have to have a spiritual awakening because the steps aren't designed to get me sober. I'm sorry to tell you. Oh, the big book's not designed to keep me sober. Mm-hmm. My sponsor's not designed to get me sober. The meetings aren't designed to get me sober. If you take all of that combined, what all of that combined is designed for Leslie is to get me connected to a power that can keep me that way, that can help me stay stopped. See, I don't have a problem stopping when Sonny walks off with the goods. You know what I'm saying, Sonny? When you walk off and you got all the stuff and we ain't got no more and we ain't got no more licks, we can't come up with nothing else, and you leave, then okay, I can stop. Not happily, but I'll stop. But can I stay stopped? I can't do it in and of myself by myself. In fact, in and of myself by myself, I can't stay stopped from doing anything, whether it's a defect of lust, greed, gluttony, sloth, pride, and ego, any of that. I can't stay stopped. I'm going to have to connect to a power greater than myself. Now, my sponsor, I call her I used to call her she passed away 5 years ago. 5 years ago, not too long ago. And I was with her for 22 years. She just came through my spirit, forgive me. She was my extension cord to God. It's something funny about this program. When I can't connect, I can't hear him because I'm so full of my head and I'm so full of my fears and I'm so full of my thinking and I'm so full of resentment and my sex conduct inventory is out of order and I'm off balance. When I'm not centered, when I'm out of step with God and the alignment of his will, that sponsor comes in, or that sobriety sister or that sobriety brother will come in and connect me and balance me and center me when I'm off centered. See, I came into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous with self-centered. Everything was about Leslie. But I came in here to get self without the dash centered. So I won't be on tilt. I'll be straight like this. What am I centering myself? My center point is with God, with the Most High, so I can be in alignment. Because when I'm in alignment, everything's good, even when it ain't good. They told me peace is not peace because everything around me is good. It's peace when everything around me is bad. Are you at peace? See, the only way I can find this peace and this serenity and this freedom by sitting in a house by myself for almost 2 months is because I got centered. Y'all gave me a foundation that got me so centered, and so it can't nothing shake me. I don't care what virus is going on. I don't care who's killing who. I don't care who shot who. I don't care who's in charge of the USA. I don't care about none of that because my primary purpose is to be of service to somebody else. And if I get out of my head and get out of my expectations and get out of my fears and get out of myself, and I talk to Loretta and I say, Loretta, what can I do for you? I am in my best self when I'm helping one of you. I am my best self when I'm out of my brain, because when I'm out of my brain and I'm out of my thinking, let me back up a little bit. My disease centers in my thinking. And with the same broke brain that told me on a clear day in October 1984, I just made that date up. October 1984, on a clear day, my head said, girl, you know, you need to go on and get you one. And I'm not even conscious that it's telling me that. All of a sudden, I'm like a mutant, a robot, and I'm on my way to getting one. No warning, sometimes no warning. Something then tells me something's wrong with my thinking before I get loaded. Something's wrong in here before I get loaded. Now, what is the matter? The matter is the fact that I'm disconnected and I have a disease that once I put something in me, I can't tell you when I'm going to stop. I can't tell you who I'm not going to mess around with. I can't tell you if I'm end up live or dead. There were a lot of close calls and a lot of times I don't have enough time to tell you the times where I should not even be here. But it's for his grace. It's for his grace. See, grace is an unmerited favor. There's nothing I can do to get God's grace. It's just there. But there's that window of opportunity. If I don't step in when grace, if I'm not willing and I'm not surrendered enough to step in when grace comes calling, I might miss it like that. You blink and you miss it. But by his grace, I'm able to see it and go, oh, okay, at that time, I don't know what it was. I can't diagnose what it was, but there was a willingness there. And I don't know what made me willing other than having a thorough enough ass whooping. See, I sponsor a lot of women because I can hear it. If you've been around here for a while and you sponsor people, you're dealing with people newer than you can hear when they're not hearing. You can hear that they're not ready. You still work with them, but at a certain point, you got to take care of you. At a certain point, you got to let them get done. You got to throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. No, I'm just playing. You got to get done. I've had to let a lot of people go, and that breaks my heart. Because, see, they told me I like to be God. I like to play God. If I could melt this and pour this on the newest newcomer in here, guess what? You all would be sober. But I'm not God. Thank God. But on the other hand, if I was God, half the world would be zapped out right now because y'all don't know how to act. Soon as God blesses, I have a 72-hour forgetter. As soon as God blesses me and I get that house, I get that car, I get that blessing or whatever, next thing I'm on to the next thing. Okay, God, can I have him and make sure he got enough money and he's this tall? And, you know what I'm saying? It's never stopping because I forget. The book talks about, I forget about the pain, suffering, and humiliation of a day, a week, a month ago. I can't remember yesterday. And if I do remember yesterday, I'm in some resentments or some shit from back yesterday. And then if I'm thinking about tomorrow, I'm in some fear because I've created this whole psychopathic, crazy, I've created a castle and I moved into it. That's real sick. I've created a scenario and I've moved into it in my head. I know I heard Teresa H. say tonight, Teresa was saying, hey, and I believe the same exact thing. It's so funny when you hear the voice, the language of the heart, you be like, yeah. I see some of you guys going, yeah, I know what that is. Teresa said, you looking for God? Newcomer, you looking for God? He's right here. See, right now on my clock, it's 11:47. I don't know what it says on your clock, but look at your clock. It's probably 8:47, depends on where you're at. It could be 10:47 if you're in Central Time. But wait a minute, 8:47. So that means 8:46 is in the past, right? Just make sure it's not me. 8:46 is gone. So it no longer exists. And 8:48 ain't got here, right? So it don't exist. So yeah, God was with me in the past when I made my own choices and I got those resentments. He was there. And he's going to be there in the future when I make my own choices and I go self-will run riot. But if I really want to know where God is 11:48. He's right here, right now. These are the things I learned in the rooms. Stop with my magic magnifying mind and creating a story that's not real. See, my head likes to lie to me. See, and contained within my head is the ego. The ego likes to take over everything. I think of the ego like this. I'm reading this book by Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now. A lot of you guys probably know it. And me and one of my sponsees are reading it together. And he said, you need to separate yourself from the thinker. Now, you can't be skilled at doing this and you ain't did no 4-step. I don't expect you to have a meditative mind and bringing your mind back to the now. You like, screw that, girl. I'm trying to pay this bill next week. I don't know if my rent going to be due. That's okay. Be new. Be new. Go on and worry the hell out yourself. Hurry up and get your ass drugged around the I-10 freeway in LA. I hope you get scarred up, scraped up, and tired enough of trying to figure some shit out. And then maybe you surrender and maybe you be okay. Then I'm tired. And then you call your sponsor since you ain't called her him or her in about a week or so. Oops. So anyway, somebody got hit. I'm not sorry. So, I had to sit here and go, okay, my mind races and I have to learn how to bring my mind back to the right now because I want to be safe with God. And God is sitting here with Leslie right now. And he's got me all embraced and under this umbrella of protection. And under the umbrella of protection, he's got this big warm cloak because it's been raining and it's been coronavirus and it's been cooties out here and it's got all kind of HIV and stuff out here. But if I stay close to God and I got all this stuff going on, he's going to protect me. Because I'm in the now with God. And then Loretta and Amy and Annalise and Lexi and all y'all gonna be up under there with me. But guess what? Jeffrey gonna turn around, Mr. Scott gonna turn around, and he gonna take his ass to the past. Now his thinking start talking about, what they did to him on that last job he had, or that last girlfriend and the last boyfriend and the last this, and what his mama did to him. He's living a resentment when he was 2 years old when she beat him repeatedly, and he's 975 years old now, and he's way over there. He done left the umbrella protection of now, and he way back over there sitting up there restless, irritable, discontent, and feeling nasty and disconnected. And we all huddling over there looking like, what's wrong with Jeff? I don't know. Something wrong with him. And then all of a sudden, we turn around, we look, and Kara R over there, she goes out to the future. She says, okay, I've got this plan and I've got this design. Ain't asked God no permission, just got this design and what she's going to do. And once I get sober, then I'm going to get that job. Then I'm going to go to school. And then things start getting in the way. Ralph White says it beautifully. Don't let the life that AA has given you get in the way of your AA life. How the hell dare I get a couple things in 24 hours and 50 cents over bus fare, and all of a sudden, God, I'm going to tap out. I got this. Every time I tap out and I got this, guess what? It's another tsunami coming. Shit's going to be blown everywhere. It's going to be looking like the Wizard of Oz. And the shit, elephants and tigers and lions and shit is flying everywhere because I've left from under the protection of God. I left. See, after I've had this spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, it's a spiritual awakening because I've been in a spiritual coma. I ain't been there. Not only am I in a spiritual coma, I need a spiritual enema. So I got all kind of stuff going on. So I'm getting a fleet enema, and I'm in a coma, and I'm laying up here like I got IVs and all this stuff and stuff. Beep, beep, beep. I got all kind of stuff going on. And then I go to sleep. That's what 10 and 11 is about. Waking me up and keeping me woke. You know how the kids now, they say stay woke? You would want to stay woke. But you're going to go take a nap a little bit here and there. But just come back. I know Ralph White also says this. I quote him because I love him to death. He always says stuff like that. When shit go bad in your life, why would you run the other way as opposed to coming closer into the program? See, I was the girl that lost a job and had 20-something years sober. I moved to Atlanta with a guy. And that guy left me for a stripper. Don't say nothing. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. Just pray for me. He left me for another girl. I thought I was going to die. I couldn't get up, but I had trained feet. In other words, when I left LA to come to Atlanta, I had done a whole bunch of steps. I was still sponsoring. I brought those girls over with me. In fact, I'd like to thank all of them because most of them are here on this line with me. I don't know what it is they saw with an alcoholic girl like me that they want a little piece of the God that they think they see. And I give them everything I can. I give it all up. I give it all up. So I don't know what happened, but when I was in that position, in that fetal position, and that guy had left me, and I'm on with the second child, because I don't divorce his father. That's what I do. I'm a great ex-wife. So if anybody wants to get married in a divorce and you want a great ex-wife, call me. But I'm a great ex-wife. I'm good as hell. But when I'm in the relationship, I'm a beast. I'm selfish. I'm self-centered. I want him to be who I want him to be. I want him to talk like I want him to talk. I want him to do what I want him to do. And then I'm pissed off at him because he goes and sees some other girl. But then in the meantime, I'm an adulteress by nature. So how dare I? I didn't know what to do, but what I knew one thing to do. Keep going to meetings. I lost my job. Didn't have a job for 3 years out here in Atlanta. Had a house. Never missed one house note. Never late on one house note. That's nothing but God. And in the midst of all of that sadness, I started a women's workshop. And I went to that meeting and I paid rent. I don't know how I did it. I paid rent every month and we had a workshop. I picked up 4 or 5 more sponsees. Then I decided I'm going to have a big book study. And I started doing that. See, I stay of service when it gets scary for me because I got to go back to basics and I got to remember where I come from. I got to remember who I am and whose I am because without that, I am nothing. In and of myself, like I told you, by myself, I can't do anything without a power greater than me. How do I stay connected? Through you guys, man. I've been on so many Zoom meetings. I'm telling you, I can take a defect and flip it into an asset in a heartbeat. Now, I told you I'm selfish and self-centered and self-seeking and it's all about me, right? So when the pandemic kicked in, guess what self did? I started making up meetings. I have a big book study. I have a co-ed meeting. I have a women's 12 and 12, and I have a 4-step workshop. I'm busy because I know me. I'm scared of me. I have a healthy fear of this dis-ease. There's something not right in my soul, and I have a healthy fear of this disease. Let me tell you some things that this life has taken me through. Like I told you, my sponsor I was with for 22 years. She was in a hospital. I got a call from one of my sobriety sisters. She had a whole bunch of us. She had a fleet of us. And she was in LA. And they said, we don't know how long she's going to last. So I asked them to take the phone, put it on speaker, and put it on her chest. I said, you guys gather around the bed and hold hands, and I'm going to pray. And I did this prayer. And it wasn't a traditional, God grant me the serenity. It was a prayer. God's will be done. And then I could hear the voices mounting up. And I could hear the tears. And I could hear the sobbing. And someone picked up the phone and said, Leslie, she's gone. And as I hung up the phone, I was driving home from work and I screamed for about a half a mile. She was gone. Now, what's so amazing about all of that is everybody wanted a piece from her. I didn't want nothing. because I had all the jewels she'd given me. I followed that lady around like a duckling. I went everywhere she went. We went to conventions together. I just everything. See, I don't know about this new sponsorship thingy, but challenging my sponsor. I come from the school. You don't challenge them. Now you go to your sponsee sisters and talk about her ass, but you don't challenge what she says. You just do it. You just do it. You just do it. Because I'm an alcoholic that lacks discipline. Then I found out that my youngest son, Miles, had been reading lips from the kindergarten to the second grade. I didn't know he was mild to moderate hearing loss. I don't know about you with special needs kids, any of you guys that have special needs children or with special needs yourself, but when you find out that something's wrong with your baby, and you got 20-something years sober, and you were overlooking it, and then you find out he needs hearing aids. I blamed myself. I felt bad. I felt remorse. I felt that my child is not any good. Something's wrong. And then the flip side that's so shitty about it is my ego said my child is messed up. He's marred. Something's wrong. Then my oldest son, a couple years ago, he went to the military, came home. He already suffered from depression from a molestation from one of my closest friends in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Her son molested my son when he was 6 years old. So he's always been real quiet, like a bubble off center. Good kid, really cool guy. He goes to the Army, he gets discharged because he couldn't lose his weight. He did get his veterans benefits and so forth, but he was staying with me, and there was something about a mother's intuition or a recovering alcoholic's intuition. You can look in the eyes of someone and you can see that something is wrong. Something was wrong. The glow in his eyes was gone. And I told him, you need to go to the VA and have them check you. They checked him in on the 4th floor here in Atlanta at the VA. He suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts. And nothing's more humble than after your child goes in there and you go visit him and his hair is matted to his head, his eyes are not bright anymore, he's got on a paper suit so he won't kill himself. And you stand there as a mother. I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. God, this is what we're supposed to be going through? I thought I was supposed to be happy, joyous, and free. One more time. But this time I didn't get God and mad at God. Sometimes I have to separate what's God's stuff and what's life. Everything ain't God's fault. Sometimes we as humans set the ball rolling, and it's a series of unfortunate events that make stuff happen. I stop blaming God. All I ask is, God, what is your will for me? And give me some direction. And then I call my sponsor and run it past her. See, the 5th step in the 12 and 12, if you're running around here and just coming up with ideas and you're not running major decisions by somebody, I can't do that. I have to run major decisions past my sponsor, because the 5th step in the 12 and 12 says that almost every spiritually highly developed person almost always runs something by another person. It's not that that other person will be correct, and not that that other person will be knowledgeable and understand, but at least it will avoid some tragic blunders. Now, the word tragic and blunder sound like death to me. So I have to run something by another human being. I have to. Someone that I respect their walk and their talk. See, I've always been sponsorable. I've always been sponsored. I've had about 4 sponsors in my recovery, because I submit myself to another human being, because in and of myself, I cannot listen to my thinking. And then the last one, tomorrow, in fact, in 1 minute, 3 years ago, my mother was at a board and care at Sentinella Hospital. She had dementia, and she had had it for about 10, 12 years. I've been grieving my mother for 10, 12 years because she was never the same person. So my brother and I, it was Mother's Day, and my brother and I were on the phone. He lives in Milwaukee now, and I live here. And we were waiting for Mom to wake up. Wait till Mom wakes up. It's Mother's Day. We're going to sing to her. We're going to put her on the screen. We're going to do the chat thing. He gets a call. He comes back on the line, and I can't even understand what he's saying. And I said, what's wrong, Chris? And by the time he finishes garbling and crying, he said, Mom wouldn't wake up. My mother died in her sleep. Mother's Day 3 years ago, 12 o'clock. It's midnight here. And the only thing that a selfish alcoholic like me could say, God, why on Mother's Day? I'm a mother too. So for the rest of my damn life, I got to sit here and grieve this bullshit. And every Mother's Day, because I show so much strength and energy. You don't understand. Newcomers important, but there's some old timers running around here that are painstaking, that are holding on to some pain. And I smile and I'm not trying to make this program look attractive to you because I don't want to be walking around here like, well, I do this one day at a time. No, I want this shit to look like fun. I want you to look so attractive to you. You say, okay, I want to do this too. We're going to go to the club of sobriety together. Let's do this. But sometimes people forget that you're recovering too. Or I stay on top of my step work. I stay in touch with my sponsor 3 or 4 times a day because I'm accountable. It's not that I'm a good sponsor, it's that I have cooperative, great sponsees that want this thing. And as long as you look like you wanting it, you can get it. But if you're walking around here complaining about what your sponsor ain't doing, I have to take a look back and say, what am I doing? Am I asking for help? Or I'm sitting here acting like everything's okay? And when shit ain't okay, trust and believe. I'm going to let them know. Shit ain't okay. Mother's Day, I didn't get a fucking card. I got 2 kids and a boyfriend. I didn't get a hello, happy Mother's Day. My oldest son called me 9:30 in the morning. I didn't get shit. I was so pissed off. These flowers that you see behind me, I bought them shits myself. Because I said I do so much for other fucking people. I'm into self. Call it what you want to, but goddamn it, I'm a mother. I do a whole lot of work. I done raised 2 kids. I done raised 88 husbands. 795 husbands. I done dressed up and fixed up 972 boyfriends. Mark and Teresa, y'all look like y'all been together a long time. Y'all been together a long time? I hate you both. Okay, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I can't do 2 minutes because if he starts chewing and if he belches, I'm like, you're just chewing. Why do you chew? Why are you blinking your lashes? So that's probably what's wrong with me. Y'all need to have a Marriage Anonymous meeting. Let me know how to do that shit because I don't do it so well. But I'm starting to wrap it up. So, things like that. What do you do when the shit hits the road? See, I don't need you to tell me what page to read. Excuse me. I'm gonna say this like straight up like this. Fuck that book. Tell me what you did when your mama died. Tell me what you did when you lost another job. Tell me what you did when you had that gambling addiction. You was running the casino and it was borrowing money and payday loans and shit. Tell me what you did when you was messing with this guy and this guy and this guy and it still didn't fill that hole in your soul. Or this girl and this girl and this girl. And tell me what you did when you was bankrupt sober. Tell me what you did to stay sober. That's what I want to hear. And maybe I'll be inspired and enthusiastic about this. Somebody said something about the word enthusiast. I'm an enthusiast. Enthusiastic. If you look up the word, en means within. Enthusiasm comes from theos, God. So my excitement is from within. My excitement is from the God within. It's not the stuff without. It's from within. Because I know this program works. I had a friend, she was annoying me. Somebody said, well, where's Leslie been all this time? She said, girl, she's on that other addiction. They said, what is that? She said she's doing all these Zooms and AA and stuff. I'd rather be addicted to that shit than to be addicted to myself. Because that's the shit that got me sitting up here with you on a Monday night. On a Sunday night, Sunday morning crying. But I'd rather cry here about my mother dying 3 years ago to be drinking and not really be able to be found. Because had this happened, when I was getting loaded, I wouldn't have known what was happening because I would have been in that spiritual coma. So the only way I can stay awake is to stay working with you guys. The only way I can stay awake is doing it when I don't want to do it and not doing what I want to do. The only way that I can stay awake is constantly stay in contact with God, whether it's prayer, whether it's breathing, whether it's meditation, whether it's doing alms, whether it's calling a sick and suffering person at a hospital, whatever it is. When I call somebody and their name comes to my mind and I'm like, where have you been? I have not heard from you. Are you okay? Anything that takes me out of me. You want to know what God's will? Anything that takes you out of you. So if I'm not thinking about Leslie, I'm probably in God's will. If I'm thinking about Leslie, I'm probably in my will. I'm going to say this last story. There was a man that was walking and a storm hit. And he was on top of his roof of his house. And he was a praying man. He believed in God so adamantly. He would preach to people all the time. He was a praying man. And so the water's rising and all of that. And they come by in a boat. They said, man, you need to get in this boat, because if you don't get in this boat, the water's rising and it's going to flood you out within the next hour. He said, no, that's okay, because my God is going to serve me and he's going to save me. I'll stay right here and I'll wait on him. And then the next thing you know, there's a helicopter going over about 20 minutes later, and the rope ladder drops down. They say, grab on. He says, no, my God's going to save me, because I believe in God. Y'all just don't have faith. I'm going to stand here and believe in God. So a little bit later on, as he's entering into heaven, he walks up to God and he said, where were you? God said, well, shit, I sent you a boat and a damn helicopter. What else you want? If you in these rooms, he sent your ass a boat and a helicopter and a girl named Strange. What the hell else you want? Thank you for listening to me.